Welcome everyone to today's workout. I'm going to start off today by going over some modifications of equipment because maybe not all of us have anything that is actual fitness equipment like weights, and some of this does require some kind of resistance. And so what I've been saying in other videos is you can fill a bag with something heavy. We all have disposable or those reusable shopping bags or a duffel bag. So I've got this duffel bag right here. We can fill it with heavy things, some stock, bag of rice, some sugar. This is open, I'm not putting it in there. But once you get it filled, kind of shift it around so the weight's evenly distributed, you got it filled to the heavy resistance that you want. You're going to be able to use this kind of like a makeshift kettlebell, at least today, for things like the deadlifts. So going down, or even bicep curls, curling it up with the weight of the bag if you don't have weights or a resistance band at home. So yeah, everybody's got like dry goods now. We've all been hoarding them. So you can make your own weights just by filling a bag with enough heavy objects. And the great thing about that is it's scalable to your own abilities. So if you don't want it particularly heavy, just don't put as much stuff in. One thing I like too, for example, this bag of sugar tells you the weight on it, 4 kilograms, 8-ish pounds, 9 pounds. So there you go, you know how much it's going to be, how much resistance you're going to get. You can just add other bags or other cans based on the weight that they have on them too. So a lot of this is going to be body weight. Another thing that you're going to need for today's workout is like a textbook or a block. Some people have yoga blocks, but if you just have a stack of books that you can stack up, we're going to be putting that on the ground for an elevated squat. I've got plenty of books. You'll see that to that. And then a yoga mat. I'm going to start off with some jump rope today to warm up. Not for too long. I'm just going to do enough to get my heart rate up, which, let's be honest, doesn't take too much. My hair was not part of this, that'd be great. All right, so our first exercise today will be traveling variable width squats. So you're going to start narrow. You're going to hop forward once, widen your legs, hop forward another time, legs a little wider, and then from there, squat back to the narrow legs and back narrow again. So I'll show you what I mean by that. And we're going to do 4 rounds of 4, and the count is on the pass. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So each 3 of those jumps counts as 1, 2, 3, 4. So legs more narrow, squat, wider, even wider, narrow, more narrow, wider, wider, narrow, more narrow. So we're trying as much as possible to land on our heels and spring up with our heels. So you don't want to land on your toes or on the front of your foot. A lot of people who experience knee pain in squats or in jumping motions, you're putting a lot of stress on your knees by catching your weight in your knees when you land on the top of your foot. So if at all possible, really focus on landing in your heels, engaging those glutes, hamstrings, and thighs. For the next exercise, you're going to need something to elevate a foot on. You can use a stack of books, a yoga block if you have it. I have this kit of MCAT study guides that no, I have not begun using during this solitary social isolation. Don't come for me. What we're going to do is put one foot parallel with your other foot on the elevation, and we're going to do a squat from here. So it's going to be hardest on the foot that's on the ground. The foot that's on the ground is the one that you're pushing off with. You really don't want to use too much of this foot. All right? And if you have hardwood floors like me and you notice that your book or blocks keep sliding around, put a yoga mat on it. It's going to keep that friction and keep it gripping on. So, shoulders back, chest high, keeping the weight through our heels on this again. If you have any particular equipment at home that you want to make use of, drop me a comment and I'll try to include something to do with that or variations of the exercises that we do that you can include that equipment in. As well as if you have particular mobility concerns or if it's your first time working out and you need modifications on exercises to make them a little bit easier to accommodate your mobility, let me know. I demonstrated before when this stream began that you could fill a duffel bag or a reusable shopping bag with just like heavy stuff, thing of stock, some rice, bag of sugar, etc. Just really fill it up until it's heavy enough for you to use. I like something like this because the bag itself isn't very long. Handles are fairly short, so you're going to get more range of motion when you need to bend over. But if you find that you don't have, if it stops too high, like your handles might be too long, just stand on something until you can get your hands to mid-shin. So we're going to be doing stiff leg deadlifts. I'll demonstrate that with the bag. I'm going to use a kettlebell because I have one. But what we're going to do is we're thinking about moving our hips back and forth in space. So this isn't, you're not moving your body up and down with your chest. We're keeping a nice neutral spine, so our spine is nice and flat and tight. Belly button into the ribs, or into the spine and up to the ribs, so you have nice tension here. Nice tension through squeezing the glutes, shoulders back, your chest is high, and notice how my hips go back as I bend, and that my hands end in the middle of my shin. Now I'm going to squeeze my glutes and press through my heels as I rise up again, keeping my arms extended from shoulder to wrist in a straight line. So we're not pulling this up as we come up, we're pressing it up with our glutes and our hips. So my hips back in space and then forward in space. And I'll show you what that looks like from this side with the kettlebell. So I'm going to get a little more range of motion with this because it's shorter, and I'm going to be able to stop right where I need to, but shoulders back, chest is high, core is tight. And one thing you'll notice too with my hips going back in space is that my shins come at a negative angle over my heels. So they don't stay straight in a line, they come behind my heels. And that's what you're looking for, is a nice stretch in your hamstrings with your shins behind your heels. So So, a lot of common questions that I get from my clients, especially about deadlifts, is, should I be feeling this in my low back? No, you shouldn't. But if it is your first time, you are likely going to feel a pull in your low back because you're not used to the movement yet. But what we want to do is eliminate that low back strain, eliminate wanting to pull with the low back. And that's going to be accomplished by not just bending our bodies forward, but keeping that nice neutral spine. So you notice the difference from here to here. You want a nice tabletop of a back to keep yourself safe, to keep that low back safe. So the more that you can get to that point, the better off you'll be. And if you want me to show you how to train yourself into a neutral spine, I can do that either at the end of the stream or make a dedicated video or stream to getting to that kind of neutral spine and being able to hinge at the hips. So here we go again. 20 of these. Weight through our heels. Nice, tight, neutral spine. Hips going backwards and forwards in space. One thing you might also notice that would be helpful for a lot of people too is knowing where to look where you're doing this. Our body goes where our eyes go. So if you're looking down, you're going to give yourself a curve in your spine we don't want. So we want to try and look between 6 to 8 feet in front of us on the ground. So if you can see what I'm doing that, I'm looking straight forward in front of me, not looking down at the ground. A lot of people think that they need to constantly police their form and that they're going to accomplish that by looking at the ground and looking at the way their weight is tracking. But the more you turn your spine and try and focus on, like, even if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're making a turn in your spine, and we don't want that. So find a neutral focus point that you can just keep looking at on the ground, and that's really going to help out with being able to maintain a nice, straight, flat spine. All right. So if we're all ready, we're going to do the last one. Very sweaty. So looking forward, not down, and I'll show you the difference right here. When I look down at my feet, my neck curves. Even if I am over my feet here in the correct angle of my shins, I'm curving down. So we don't want that. I want to look straight forward, and here's the difference. The next thing we're going to do are pike push-ups. This is going to work your shoulders and your lats a lot more than a traditional push-up, which works your chest and your triceps and your shoulders. Into your pike position here. All right. So I'm a nice V. I'm tight throughout the shoulders. My scapula are locked down and back. And I'm going to bend and then press myself out of that bend. So for the bicep curls, again, you can use your makeshift weight bag, that individually like this, pulling more weight out or adding more in as you need to. You can use your weight. My kettlebell is a little bit too heavy for me to do 15 with. So what I'm going to do is use a resistance band. And I have this one with handles, but if you have a loop band, that works too. Just spread your feet until you get a decent amount of resistance, and then you would just curl up with that too. I'm not a huge fan of this method personally for me because it hurts my hands. But if you have something like fat grips, for those of us who a little bit more muscle nerds and have weird equipment like that, grips around your resistance band to give yourself a handle and a little bit of extra difficulty training that grip strength. So what I'm going to do is use this resistance band. I'm going to do 15 bicep curls. So my countertop's right here. You can kind of extrapolate that from where my arm ends. But you're going to put your hands on your countertop. You're going to walk yourself back until you're up on your toes and you're in a bit of a plank. We're going to bend at the hips. You're going to keep your arms shoulder width apart, and we're going to bend at the elbows, bringing our body down and then pressing up with our triceps. And really try and focus on using only your triceps and not rocking back and forth with the rest of your body. Alright, so this is a high to low plank. You're going to start in a high plank position, then we're going to come down onto our elbows into a low plank. Again, like I said, stopping ourselves from twisting at the hips, from being able to get up and down. Then we're going to bring ourselves back up to the high plank and down. Each climb is the 1 count. So we'll get down here into our plank, starting up high. One, who tuned in. I'll be back again at 1:30 for another workout tomorrow, and I'll be back later on for some mediocre gaming content. So I hope everybody has a great afternoon, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye, guys.